Hello, 7th graders. Today we will begin with our study of perspective drawing. You may think of perspective drawing as a replacement for form drawing this year. We're learning about perspective drawing because it reflects a change in attitude widely held amongst European people between the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, which comes after the Middle Ages. Perspective drawing is also very precise and involves a deeper, more 7th grade level of thinking and concentration than in our drawings in previous grades. During the Middle Ages, art was often two-dimensional, meaning it was really flat. Art was often depicted on lofty church windows in stained glass. Stained glass depictions had to be simple and usually focused on images of Jesus and Mother Mary. Sometimes the style of art is referred to as Gothic, which emphasizes stained glass art and the use of pointed arches in churches, mainly during the late Middle Ages. In the slides, you will also see two-dimensional nature of art from other places in antiquity. Egyptian, Asian, and Mesoamerican or South American art forms, as you can see, were often flat, though beautiful. It's as if maybe something wasn't being fully expressed or evoked in these works of art. It can be said that an awakening happened in Europe around the 15th century, starting in Europe with an artist named Brunelleschi. Brunelleschi was from Florence, which is a really crowded city in Italy. It's said that when he traveled to Rome, he was able to notice how ancient city builders designed buildings to allow for more light and space. He noticed depth in new ways. He also noticed how Roman columns were built to be larger at the bottom and smaller or tapered at the top, creating an illusion that the column was actually taller or bigger than it really even was. Originally a sculptor, Brunelleschi was so inspired by his travels to Rome that he decided to change and become an architect. Back in Florence, Brunelleschi finally built a hospital, and it allowed for this new type of breath and inspiration from everyone. Soon other artists started to take and apply this perspective to other works of art and thinking. Paintings became more three-dimensional, almost lifelike at times. Philosophers started to entertain ancient scholars and consider the ancient pagan gods again. It was as if a breath of fresh air was beginning to sweep through Europe around this time, and there was more flexibility. Throughout this block, we're going to learn a series of different techniques and approaches to perspective. You'll be hearing me reference words like extrapolation, interpolation, vanishing point, and horizon lines. We'll be starting slowly and simply, and build up to making cityscapes and other more elaborate drawings. You'll be using your purple main lesson books to craft these drawings. Precision will be key. Over the next few weeks, I'll be posting different tutorial videos onto the Google Classroom to guide you through these lessons. At the end of the block, in 4 weeks, you'll have a series of drawings to turn into me. I cannot stress the importance of accuracy and care enough for this block. Should something not make sense to you in these videos, or should you want to talk or ask for some assistance, I'll be sure to make time to be available for you, or you can email me through the Google Classroom. Here's some tools that you'll need to be useful with or conversant with for this block. First, you'll want a T-square. It looks like this. The T-square is useful because it allows you to draw a perfect 90-degree angle by putting the edge of the T on your desk like this. Also, you'll want a triangle. You can either find a 45-45-90 triangle or a 30-60-90. This one's here is a 45-45-90 because, as you can see, the angles are such. This tool is also helpful because, as you'll see, it helps you to draw right angles. We'll be using two different types of pencils for this block. One's a 2B, the other is a 3H. The 3H pencil is harder, has a harder type of lead in it, making it easier to make faint lines. The 2B has a less dense type of lead, making it easier to draw darker lines. These two pencils you should find in the green folders inside of the tote bag I gave you during conferences. You'll also want to have a ruler for this block. You can use a 12-inch ruler or an 18-inch ruler. You'll need to also have a quality eraser for this block. Do not use the eraser at the end of pencils because they make marks on your paper easily and scratch. If you don't have a quality eraser at home, you can find one or let me know so I can supply you one for your work. Now, let's go ahead and get started with our very first perspective drawing. Have fun. Okay, here's my main lesson book.
we're going to leave the front page blank for now. We're also going to leave page 1 blank. I'd like you to go ahead and number page 1 small in the corner there. I'd like you to go to page 2. Then we're going to go ahead and turn our work to a portrait mode. I'd like you to go ahead and take your ruler, and keep in mind you'll need to stop this video from time to time in order to stay up to speed with me. But I'd like you to take your ruler, I'd like you to measure the width of your page. You'll notice that it is 9.5 inches. You're then going to have to do some math in your head or on paper to figure out what 9.5 inches divided by 2 is, because I'd like you to divide your page in half and make a horizontal line going across the middle like so. Then I'd like you to go ahead and make 2 equal rectangles for me, please. And I would like there to be space in the middle. You can notice these faint lines that are right here. We're going to be learning to do some draftsman writing, how architects write, and I would like these space in the middle here for about a sentence or so for this page. You'll also notice, I'll hold this hopefully up to the camera so you can see, that each of my rectangles are labeled A, B, C, and D. Okay? So we're going to find the middle of our rectangles here. This was something that we've learned in the past in form drawing, but we're now just going to make it formal in our main lesson book here, which, as you see, when we move through the middle school years, our main lesson book becomes more of a textbook, so that years later, when you come back to this, you'll know exactly the basics of perspective drawing. So to find the exact center of a rectangle, as you know by now, we're going to make an X through each point from a line from A to C and a line from D to B. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there and let you get caught up with what you see here. Okay, I've gone a few steps ahead here in the interest of time. In those horizontal lines that I drew across the top that are about 1/2 inch apart right here, inside I'm going to use this draftsman technique, an architectural drawing technique, where I'm going to write the title in all capital letters using the very top of the line and the very bottom of the line. Something kind of like what we did in the first grade when we first learned our letters. So you're going to make your last name, comma, first name. I wrote last and first because I wanted to make an example. Then you're going to write drawing number 1 and the date. I happen to do mine on 8/15. You will write whatever date you do this on. Then I'd like you to go ahead and, in your best cursive or print, I don't mind either way this year, and I'd like you to write in pencil to find a line that is equidistant, that means in the middle, from AD and BC. Now, AD is this line here, and BC is from here to here. So to find a line that is equidistant of these two lines, we draw a diagonal across the rectangle. Line EF is created. In my drawing here, I have not created EF, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now, using my triangle if I have one. If you don't have a triangle, that's fine. Hopefully you're able to see this. I'm going to use the right angle to line up to my rectangle here to be sure that I have a straight line. And I'm going to create line E and F. You might be wondering, why is this so interesting, Mr. Barnum? Well, I'll tell you in the next step. It's going to get a lot more interesting here. I told you we were going to start slow and then pick it up. Now you can see what I've done is I've created a new shape. This is not a rectangle, because as you can see in our rectangle, each of the 4 corners is a perfect 90-degree angle. A trapezoid, however, is a different kind of shape. A trapezoid has 2 sides that are parallel and 2 sides that are not parallel. The trapezoid shape is really going to help us deepen a sense of perspective. What we're going to do next, after making a 3-inch by 4-inch trapezoid, is we're going to go ahead and intersect, find where the middle point is in perspective of this trapezoid here. So one thing that I would suggest to you is that you use your firmer pencil when just getting the lines down, and then using your darker pencil once you have a finished thing that you can then finalize and make beautiful. I made the mistake, and you can see my erasing lines here, my pencil lines here, that I've tried very, very hard to erase, but it's hard to get rid of those lines. I used the dark pencil accidentally because I made my trapezoid backwards. Anyways, I'm going to show you now, using the right pencil, how to make a line that is equidistant from A, D, and B, C on a trapezoid when we're in perspective. We essentially do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and connect line AC, and I'm going to connect line BD, and then I'm going to use my T-square, you may also use your triangle, to create a vertical line, making sure that my paper is totally lined up. To make vertical line EF. Okay, and now that I've got it, that line, I'm going to go ahead and make it dark so that it stands out with the right appropriate pencil, making sure that my paper is all lined up. Still not totally lined up. Okay, and now I have line E and F. Okay, so hopefully you can now begin to see the depth that is starting to happen here. Let's say that this were a telephone pole, line AD, how close it is, and then E and F start to get farther away, and B and C start to get farther away. You'll see in our coming drawings how we can create a line of telephone poles that look like they go off into the distance, that are mathematically, universally, completely precise and accurate. Okay, so here is a video of my finished drawing. As you can see, I've written in the last portion, which says, to find a line that is equidistant in perspective, we construct the trapezoid ABCD, then proceed as above. After I wrote that, I then took my 2B pencil and I went and made some of the lines darker and left some of the lines lighter to really create a nice effect. You'll notice that the 2B pencil really needs to be sharpened a lot. Mine's pretty dull right now, so you'll want to keep a sharpener close at hand so that you can really create and keep a nice sharp edge on that pencil. I'll go ahead and take a photograph of this drawing and then post that right after this, and then I would like you to go ahead and complete this drawing within the next week and a half.